We're entering into a world of angels, of theophanies, of people who are being raised from the dead. We're seeing some unusual things, and this is a week of miracles on the 700 Club. You don't want to miss 1 minute of it. But in the news, a new candidate has entered the GOP presidential field. He speaks fluent Mandarin. His most recent reference on his resume is President Obama. Jon Huntsman is Obama's former ambassador to China.
And you know what else? Pat Huntsman is also the former governor of Utah. He brings impressive experience to the race, but can he connect with the voters? That's the question of the day, and David Brody recently talked to him about that very question and that challenge.
Thank you. The visuals and location were unmistakable. Flags, family, and standing where Ronald Reagan stood when he began his run for the White House.
We're not just choosing new leaders. We're choosing whether we're to be yesterday's story or tomorrow's. Everything is at stake.
Huntsman, a former ambassador, plans to position himself as the consummate statesman in the race, vowing to not tear down his opponents or the president himself.
I respect the President of the United States. He and I have a difference of opinion on how to help a country we both love. But the question each of us wants the voters to answer is who will be the better president, not who's the better American.
He brings a thick resume to the contest. As Utah's governor, he cut taxes, balanced budgets, and signed 3 big pro-life bills, including one that made second trimester abortions illegal. In our one-on-one interview, he stressed that social issues would not be forgotten in a Huntsman administration.
Social issues are the gel that binds us as people. That's the gel that keeps generation after generation together.
But that gel can be sticky. For example, Huntsman supports civil unions, which may not play well with evangelical voters. He also worked for the Obama administration as the ambassador to China. Huntsman touts that experience, saying it puts him in the best position to navigate the global economy. While some conservatives grumble about his time on the other side, sources inside the Obama administration have admitted that Huntsman might give the president a run for his money.
Do you think the Obama administration might be a little concerned about running against you?
I don't know that I believe it. To the extent that I might be in a position to define and talk about the issues better than others, that might give rise to such talk, but I'll have to consult the experts on that.
Although he's an unknown, Huntsman's intimate knowledge of China as a world power sets him apart from the bigger names. Just listen.
How could I let you go without saying something in Mandarin Chinese?
我就是很高兴跟你见面。我想将来的话，这个美国的国家将来会继续做这个全世界上最伟大的一个国家。
That's a great point. I never thought about that. What does that mean? Please translate for me.
I basically said it's a pleasure to be with you, and although we have some challenges today, America will continue forward as the greatest country in the world.
Huntsman's challenge now, taking his skill set and translating it into victory.
Thank you.
David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
It's interesting that 2 Mormons now is seemingly front runners in the race. Certainly Mitt Romney is ahead, and former governor of Massachusetts, and Huntsman, a former governor of Utah. Very interesting. Tomorrow, we're going to have an interview with another governor, another Republican presidential candidate, former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty. And now, Wendy Griffith has the rest of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Wendy.
Thank you, Pat. Tea Party-backed congressmen are demanding specific conditions for raising the nation's debt ceiling. That comes as House and Senate lawmakers are negotiating a deal with Vice President Joe Biden. Tea Party congressmen want to cut the deficit in half. That means trimming more than $300 billion out of the 2012 budget. They're also calling for a cap on future spending and a constitutional amendment requiring Congress to pass balanced budgets. New Jersey Congressman Scott Garrett says the freshman class of House lawmakers came in with a mandate from the Tea Party to cut spending and trim the size of government.
So it's a little bit odd, if you think about it, for the administration to be expecting that same class of freshmen and the existing conservatives in the House to bow to the scare tactics that they've been giving us.
The Treasury Department says Congress must raise the debt ceiling by August 2nd or risk a financial meltdown. Pat, what do you think?
Well, Wendy, you know, it's one of those things they've got to do. They have to extend the debt ceiling. We can't default on our obligations, but I believe they're playing a game of chicken, but, well, they should. And $300 billion is not all that much cutting out of this enormous deficit they have. When they're looking at a $1.6 trillion deficit, this isn't all that much to ask. But there's a cute thing that took place in California, and Wendy's going to tell you about that. What happens when they don't pass a balanced budget?
Some tough love out there in California, Pat. In that state, 120 state lawmakers won't even be paid until they approve a balanced budget. That was the decision of the state's comptroller, John Chang. California is facing serious debt problems. Last week, Democrats used a simple majority vote to approve a budget. But after reviewing it, Chang said it wasn't balanced. Their plan cut spending but didn't create enough revenue. Lawmakers can start receiving their salaries and expenses again once they pass a balanced budget, but won't be paid for the days the budget was late. Well, today's young generation has been pushing the envelope when it comes to using high-tech gadgets for raunchy purposes, and many teens are now facing felony charges. That's because sending naked pictures of themselves is considered child porn. But some states are now trying to change that. Here's Paul Strand.
Pennsylvania State Representative Seth Grove thinks it's too harsh a punishment when kids end up with felony charges on their record for sexting.
A felony offense for kids means no military service. It's on their record for the rest of their lives.
So he pushed a bill through the Pennsylvania House in Harrisburg that instead makes teen sexting a misdemeanor.
There's no way around arguing that it's not child pornography, and the courts have upheld sexting as a form of child pornography. But the felony offense was mostly for individuals who are out to exploit and hurt children.
21 states are considering bills to fine-tune sexting punishments. 10 others have already passed youth sexting statutes in the last 2 years.
This is becoming a bigger and bigger problem across the country. Even in Representative Grove's own district, there was a recent prominent sexting case. 2 girls sent nude photos of themselves to the soccer team, and from there, they went viral.
It's really fragmenting us as human beings. We're giving pieces away.
Christian therapist Janelle Hallman says kids often aren't aware of the damage they can do to themselves sexting.
It's definitely growing, and real concern for the young people who this is how they communicate and don't realize that there is danger, that there is really significance. This matters, how we're connecting with people.
And Grove believes sexting must be kept illegal in order to battle its harmful effects and child pornography.
We had a case in York County, Pennsylvania, where a sexting event at a high school ended up on a convicted child predator's computer. So once these pictures are sent, there's no controlling them where they go.
Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Spring Grove, Pennsylvania.
Pat, is crazy, isn't it?
Well, it really is. I want to ask my co-hostess, would you consider sending pictures, naked pictures of yourself out on the internet?
Okay, I don't mean to laugh because I know this is a very serious subject. No. And
why would girls? All right, what I'm asking, why would girls do that?
Because I think that these young girls don't realize the repercussion that comes along with it. They think maybe this is enticing, maybe he'll like me. I don't know if I personally want to slap every one of them as their mother to say, "Are you serious? Are you serious?" Well, do you not realize the ramifications that come along with this?
What happened to modesty? I mean, girls didn't used to do this, and now they just
well, you know what, Pat? I think that's part of it too. I mean, even you know, beyond the moral value aspect of things, as women, sometimes we're so self-conscious. I wouldn't, you know, send it to anybody just for sheer vanity's sake. But I guess these young girls think they're so hot. God bless them. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Okay.
Well, it was in any event. Right now, in many states, it's a felony, and that's bad news.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of making it a misdemeanor is better. But my goodness gracious, girls, keep your clothes on and don't put them on the internet.
Amen.
Wendy.
Oh, Lord. Okay, I didn't know you were coming back to me. The U.S. is gearing up for the future of warfare, cyber attacks. President Obama signed an order setting cyber war guidelines for the Pentagon. Cyber attacks range from planning a computer virus to bringing down an enemy's electrical grid or defense network. Incoming Pentagon Chief Leon Panetta told Congress, quote, "I've often said that there's a strong likelihood that the next Pearl Harbor that we confront could very well be a cyber attack that cripples our power systems, our grid, our security systems, our financial systems, and our governmental systems." Hackers have already breached U.S. military networks and weapons programs. Top government officials warn it's only a matter of time before terror groups learn how to launch cyber attacks. And Pat, I fear they are right.
Well, you know, Wendy, I don't think people understand the seriousness of it. They say, oh, cyber, it's something out in outer space. It doesn't affect me. What happens, the electrical grid is very vulnerable. All those things are controlled by various electronic impulses, and if you can interrupt that, you can shut down the entire electrical grid so there's no power to your home. That's number one. As far as the financial system, it flips around trillions of dollars on wire transfers all over the world, and it depends on high-speed communication. You interrupt that, and suddenly the commerce ceases because none of the checks will clear and nobody can get any money. I mean, that's just for starters. Then you think what happened in Iran when the United States and Israel, as far as we can tell, they got together and created something called Stuxnet. Ha! The Iranians were to build a bomb. So what did the geniuses do? They stuck into their computers a code which made those centrifuges run at an extremely high speed until they exploded. Ha! So it set the Iranians back, and of course nobody admitted it. There were no boots on the ground. There were no prisoners. There was just this thing in cyberspace. And the little Stuxnet was set up so it disappeared after a short period of time. It's amazing. But that's what you're facing. So every bit of daily life can be imperiled. The lights go out. The power goes out. The finances go out. And, of course, as far as the Pentagon goes, our ability to wage war. And the Chinese are doing everything they can to attack us. One particular institution I know of, a nonprofit, has taken 300,000 attacks a day.
Wow.
You see, they just camp these big computers on these things, and they start running these, and so every one is a new attack.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, they penetrate.
It's fascinating, Pat. It's scary, but it's fascinating.
You better believe it's scary. But anyhow, it's time we get, and we are totally vulnerable right now in this country, totally vulnerable. And many of the private sector companies, they never built for this. They never thought of this. So it's time we get with it because it's very important.
President Obama is announcing his plans to begin a drawdown of U.S. troops in Afghanistan. That comes as the president's new pick to lead America's military has been approved by Congress. The Senate unanimously confirmed Leon Panetta as Secretary of Defense Tuesday. He leaves his post as CIA director to replace Robert Gates, who retires next week. The presidential campaign of Newt Gingrich has hit another snag. Tuesday, his top fundraisers left his campaign. People familiar with Gingrich say his fundraising has been troubled since he launched his bid. This latest blow comes after 16 top campaign staffers resigned earlier this month. The former Speaker of the House insists he'll stay in the race. And you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website. That's cbnnews.com.